low temperature around 50, and then for tomorrow, we're still back up in the mid-70s under a partly cloudy sky. Rain develops in the region Tuesday night to Wednesday. Wednesday's high 54. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Great to have you along. It's going to be all Donald Trump this morning. Very seriously. Between his appearance at Madison Square Garden and then on Joe Rogan's podcast, did you watch that? I watched all of it, 3 hours yesterday. So let's do it.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It is MAGA Square Garden. That's the front page of the New York Post this morning. Donald Trump at Madison Square Garden. And the thing was just, seriously. Now, there were 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden. Tens of thousands of people rallied outside. And some were saying they could have sold the garden twice. There were so many people that were there. 20,000 people there are all kinds of estimates. Some 20,000 people were turned away when officials closed the door at about 4:30 yesterday. And this it went on. So just a huge number of people who were there, and also quite a number of speakers in addition to Trump. You had all kinds of folks there. You had Elon Musk there. You had there was a comedian that really the legacy media is going nuts with some of what he said. House Speaker Mike Johnson was there. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there. And it was just absolutely incredible. So Donald Trump said yesterday, he said he's running against something far bigger than Kamala Harris. And he said, we're running against something far bigger than Joe or Kamala and far more powerful than them, which is a massive, vicious, crooked, radical left machine that runs today's Democrat Party. They're just vessels, Trump said. In fact, they're perfect vessels because they'll never give them a hard time. They'll do whatever they want. I know many of them. It's just this amorphous group of people, Trump said, but they're smart and they're vicious. And then he touched on a great number of things. And we'll work our way through this. But Trump said, I'm announcing a new policy today that I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one, he said. He hit on a number of other things. He talked about immigration. He said under Kamala, America is a sanctuary for criminals and illegal aliens that are in our country illegally. I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States, he said. Then he talked about China. He said, I saw the other day a report that they issued that if we end up in a war with China, we cannot win. We're not strong enough. So I said to myself, assuming that's true, how stupid are you to put out a report like that? How stupid? Why would you put out a report? You don't put out reports like that, and it's not true. We would kick their ass. He said it's not true. So Lee Greenwood was there singing God Bless the USA, which is pretty typical at a number of these big rallies for Donald Trump. So Trump in New York, which is his hometown, even though the Democrats generally have more strength than, as you talk about New York State, New York City in particular, and Trump appearing there. And again, folks just going crazy. Tens of thousands of people. I saw one estimate that there were big like GPS units. There were like 96,000 in the vicinity of Madison Square Garden, GPS units. So in other words, phones, which have GPS signals, so on. So, wow, it must have just been absolutely incredible. So Trump said every problem facing us can be solved, but now the fate of our nation is in your hands, he said. And he encouraged his supporters to go vote. And he was joined, it was Melania Trump that introduced him. His sons, Don Jr. and Eric, both spoke. Laura Trump also spoke. Trump talked about making America affordable again. Talked about cutting taxes for workers to eliminate tax on tips or overtime or Social Security benefits. He also proposed that new tax credit I just mentioned for those who take care of elderly parents and their loved ones. Interest on car loans would also be tax deductible under his new economic plans. We will achieve energy independence, he said. He promised to terminate the green news scam. It spoke directly to the fake news at the back of the room, saying that's got to be a record as far as how many reporters and cameramen were there to cover the rally. And Trump said, if we keep going like this, we won't have the biggest and best, he said. He was talking about, he said manufacturers who make their products in the U.S. would be welcomed. Those that don't will face higher tariffs. I will never apologize for defending America, he said to the crowd. And he said, and in 9 days, talking about election day will be Liberation Day, he said. And he talked about deportations, which he's talked about commonly, to rescue every city and town that's been invaded and conquered. The worst nightmare that we're facing is what they've done to us on our borders, he said. And the crowd went crazy. So there are a number of pieces regarding this. The Hill's got a piece, 5 takeaways from Trump's the closing message. They said sounds familiar. Again, a lot of this. Trump has been talking about a lot of this. Trump said on issue after issue, Kamala broke it, but I will fix it. And we're going to fix it, he said. And then there were people behind him saying, Trump will fix, or excuse me, had signs saying that Trump will fix it. And then he was joined by a lot of people. He was joined by Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Hulk Hogan, Speaker Mike Johnson. Melania Trump actually, she doesn't make very many campaign appearances. She actually introduced Trump. So this is a piece from The Hill. They say Musk and Carlson in particular have become popular with Trump's base. Musk said this is a real election battle. So you need to get friends and families to vote. Make sure they vote early. This is important, he said. Trump also repeated the enemy from within. I've talked about that over the last week or so. Trump said, when I say the enemy from within, the other side goes crazy, which they do. They just absolutely go nuts. He said, becomes a soundbite. Oh, how can he say? No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. But this is who we're fighting. He also talked about the press as the enemy of the people. He's done that before. That isn't anything new. So he's been saying this again recently. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Personally, the media, the threat from the media. And then Trump, as I mentioned, unveiled another tax proposal. One of the other big takeaways from this, there was a comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe, who made a number of making people angry. He made some jokes about Latinos, Puerto Rico, and he said, I welcome migrants to the United States with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. And he was making hand gestures that signaling no. He said, it's wild. And these Latinos love making babies too. Just know that. They come inside just like they did to our country. And he said, Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor, he said. So he made some jokes then. It's getting a lot of reaction, especially social media, and a lot of the outrage on social media I just don't pay much attention to. So he provoked blowback with a joke about Puerto Rico. He said there's a lot going on. There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. I think it's called Puerto Rico, he said. And that made, there was a Tim Walz and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez were doing a live Twitch session. Twitch is a gaming platform primarily. So they were doing this on Twitch, and they were doing then play-by-plays of Trump's. They're doing the play-by-play of the Madison Square Garden rally. And so they were all, and the Trump campaign has distanced itself from the comments of a comedian. That's the thing about comedy, seriously. The House Speaker Mike Johnson also there, as I mentioned. He said nobody wants 4 more years of wars and weakness on the world stage. He said American voters are sick of it. He said the House blocked the Democrats' agenda and instead passed solutions, but they were all stopped in the Senate. We're about to grow that majority. That's what's going to happen on November 5th. New York is going to make that happen, he said. So among the comments that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was also spoke. He told the crowd that the Democrat Party is no longer the party of Martin Luther King Jr. or Robert or John Kennedy. He said it was the party that wanted to protect and nurture the middle class. It was the party that stood up to censorship, the surveillance. It stood up for the It stood up for the CIA, the military conflict, military-industrial complex, and it was the party that wanted to protect public health and women's sports. Now all that's changed, he says. The Democrat Party is the party of war. It's the party of the CIA. You had Kamala Harris giving a speech at the Democrat convention that was written by neocons. It was belligerent, pugnacious, talked about domination of the world by the United States through weapons of war. It's the party today that wants to divide Americans. Keep in mind, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's a party that is dismantling women's sports by letting men play women's sports. And so he went on. Tulsi Gabbard was there, saying that voting for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney in World War III and open borders. That's what she said. It's a vote for war. More war likely, World War III and nuclear war. Vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them. They had a lot of people who were speaking at this event. And then Elon Musk, he was there and he unveiled what he called a dark Gothic MAGA. That's what he said. I'm dark Gothic dark Gothic MAGA, he said. And then he said, the energy in this room is incredible. And at the beginning of his remarks, he said that he could cut at least $2 trillion from the federal budget. And so this thing went on for 6 hours yesterday at Madison Square Garden. So it was just absolutely incredible. Now, I got more stories back here. I haven't even talked about Joe Rogan yet. Trump on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is blowing up X. And I don't know how millions of it was, I think it 25 million, in excess of 25 million views. Just absolutely incredible. The number of people who have watched Donald Trump on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then reactions to this, reactions to Rogan, and what, this is huge. Let's go to the BBC. 7 takeaways from Trump's Joe Rogan interview. Trump told Rogan the biggest mistake of his presidency was, I picked a few people I shouldn't have picked. Neocons or bad people or disloyal people, he told Rogan, talking about, I watched this. Have you watched this? It was absolutely incredible. 3 hours. As I watched the whole thing yesterday. And it was, and Rogan's getting a lot of heat that he didn't ask these questions, here's the thing that's absolutely incredible. The media reacts, he didn't ask the hard questions that the media would have asked. He didn't ask any of those, and he should have been. He's a podcaster, man. He is a podcaster. And he's doing his thing with his audience. And Trump said he told Kim Jong-un to go to the beach. That was hilarious. And that, that he was so stressed all the time, and he was concerned, and he was building up, nuclear weapons, more nuclear weapons. And Trump said, man, why don't you go to the beach, take some time off and relax. We're not, you don't need to be frightened of us. We're not coming in there. I just Trump said on the 2020 election, I lost by I didn't lose, he said. And then he told Rogan wanted to get into this. And Trump said, we'll do it another time. I will bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers. That election was crooked. It was the most crooked. And then Rogan continued to press him on this. And it's unfortunate. I think Rogan, if you really wanted answers on some of these things, he should have done it sooner. Should have done it sooner in the interview, because it was, they were nearing the end. This interview was 3 hours long. 3 hours that Donald Trump talked to him. And then Trump went so long that he wound up being late then for another. He was had a rally then that evening. He was like 3 hours late for it as a result of taking so long with Joe Rogan. But I thought it was absolutely incredible. The Rogan interview, I will get into it over the course of the morning. There was just a lot of information on it. He talked about the Apprentice. He talked about how NBC wanted him, tried to talk him into staying, but he wanted to run for president. And so then they, after that, NBC then completely distanced themselves from Trump. He talked about his health because there'd been a lot of questions about his health and releasing his medical records. And he said, he told Rogan that during one physical, doctors had described his ability to run on a steep treadmill as unbelievable. He said, when passing a physical, they asked me to run on a treadmill, and then they make it steeper and steeper. And the doctor said Walter Reed, he said, it's unbelievable. I'm telling you, I felt I could have gone all day. But he said treadmills are really boring, so he prefers to stay healthy by playing golf. And he talked about that, talked about his golf game. They touched on a number of Trump and Joe Rogan, and they're into. They just talked about shared, love of sport and so on. It was pretty incredible. And there's a piece at Forbes that said, talking about what's going on in politics right now and what the average voter has to say about the issues, that this appearance is momentous. The episode has 27 million views on YouTube right now, and this is dated, so it's got more in excess of that, and it's not slowing down. And John Brandon says, this is what I call authentic media. This is what we're talking about in more detail later this morning. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. 627. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's partly cloudy, 57. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Is brought to you by Tires. See in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
I became a teacher because I loved helping kids learn. What I don't love is the idea of teachers counseling teenage girls on whether or not they should have an abortion. With Amendment G, teachers can advise young girls on abortion options without their parents' consent. As a teacher, that's a burden I wouldn't want. As a mother, it makes me angry that I might not know. The law may need to be changed, but Amendment G is too extreme. Vote no on Amendment G.
Paid for by No G for SD.
Your age has never stopped you from doing more, and your health insurance shouldn't either. Align, powered by Sanford Health Plan, is an all-in-one Medicare Advantage option that cares for the whole you. With prescription, dental, and vision coverage included, you get more benefits at no extra cost. Plus, we offer plan options with $0 premiums, medical deductibles, and co-pays. Explore our plans by attending a free seminar event. Learn more at align.sanfordhealthplan.com.
You think our country's going in the right direction, or does it feel like everything's falling apart? If you're a bit concerned, you're not alone. In fact, Americans from all walks of life have taken action to prepare for whatever's coming next. And that starts with having an emergency food supply. Storing food in your home is the right thing to do because we're living in crazy times, which explains why so many people are preparing. Right now, you can get ready too with a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. It comes with delicious foods like creamy stroganoff, honey wheat bread, and mushroom rice pilaf, all offering over 2,000 calories every day. Their food kit lasts up to 25 years. Who knows what our country will look like then? But when that day comes, you'll be ready. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com now to order your 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now.
Partly cloudy today, windy. Our high temperature 78 with a south wind 20 to 35. For tonight, low temperature around 50. And then for tomorrow, we're still back up in the mid 70s under a partly cloudy sky. Rain develops in the region Tuesday night.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, it's partly cloudy, 57. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Closure on I-229 is scheduled for the southbound off-ramp at 10th Street. Joe will have details coming up here in moments. You're listening to Kello.
Fox News, I'm Gian Gelosi. Former president and GOP nominee Donald Trump holding a major campaign rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
On issue after issue, Kamala broke it, but I will fix it. We're going to fix it.
Trump critics condemning the rally, criticizing particular comments made by a comedian who called Puerto Rico, quote, a floating island of garbage. Former President Trump will be back on the campaign trail today in Georgia. Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Michigan today after campaigning in Pennsylvania over the weekend.
We are focused on the future, and we are focused on the needs of the American people, as opposed to a Donald Trump who spends full time looking in the mirror, focused on himself.
America's listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. A closure on I-229 is scheduled for the southbound off-ramp at 10th Street. The multi-day pavement repair closure starts today at 9 a.m. Motorists should be prepared for delays. Southbound drivers should use exits at Rice or 26th. The closure is expected to last through Wednesday this week. Sioux Falls School District Superintendent Dr. Jane Stavum announced she will be resigning at the end of the school year. Stavum assumed the role back in 2020. She says no one event led to her resignation and that her time as superintendent was very positive. The district school board will begin the search for a successor soon. The South Dakota legislature normally doesn't single out a school district for extra money, but an exception may be made next year. The Douglas School District will have to expand to accommodate the children of an estimated 4,000 airmen coming to the Ellsworth Air Force Base in the next few years. Senator Mike Rounds has included $42 million in next year's federal budget for the project, which leaves a need of about $21 million. Co-chair on the Legislative Appropriations Committee, Gene Hunhoff of Yankton, wants assurance of a healthy check and balance.
I think you need some kind of scope out there that is simplified enough that can understand, and that you are assuring every person in South Dakota that we're going to be accountable for if you do give the dollars and how you're going to do that.
Around 1,500 children are expected when support personnel and their families arrive at the base with the B-21 Raider bomber. And in sports over the weekend, the number 3 Jackrabbits beat number 4 Coyotes 20-17 in overtime. The Minnesota Timberwolves never trailed during a 112-101 win over the Toronto Raptors. The Minnesota Wild suffered a 7-5 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Sioux Falls Stampede picked up a couple of wins, beating the Des Moines Buccaneers 6-4 and shutting out the Omaha Lancers 5-0. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Weather brought to you by Intech Cleaning and Restoration. If you need it clean, call the Intech team. IntechClean.com.
Partly cloudy today, windy. Our high temperature 78 with a south wind 20 to 35. For tonight, low temperature around 50, and then for tomorrow, we're still back up in the mid 70s. Under a partly cloudy sky. Rain develops in the region Tuesday night into Wednesday. Wednesday's high 54. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
You have the power of information, entertaining talk, news when it happens. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Every few years, a less experienced tech writer falls for a flying car story. They believe they're onto something new, that flying cars and taxis are almost here. Once in a while, a major publication like the Washington Post will even print it, but the stories are hogwash. Here's why. I'm Kim Commando from MediShare. Get a high-quality healthcare plan while saving money. Call 833-SHARE-44. That's 833-SHARE-44. Self-driving cars or taxis for commercial or even private use are at least a decade away, probably longer. All the glowing articles are aimed at moonshot investors looking for a quick buck. They're not real. Sure, a flying car is technically possible, but it's not feasible. Not without a full set of FAA rules, and they're endless. Pilot requirements, airworthiness. Even Waymos still have issues. Government agencies, especially the FAA, move slowly, and tech writers looking for flying cars get serious. There's still time to win a brand new iPhone 16 Pro. Go here, winfromkim.com.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people, obviously. But what's more, MediShare members like it a lot. Their satisfaction rate is 98%. Imagine that. And MediShare is a proven thing, too, for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing. If you join before October 30th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. So you save even more right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is October 30th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. 833-SHARE-44. That's 833-SHARE-44. 833-SHARE-44. The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Leaves are falling. Get your gutters cleaned and replace this fall and get ahead of the predicted wet, heavy snow with ABC Seamless. Voted local best 20 years in a row. They like to thank Sioux Falls. Call today.
That's ABC Seamless.
Protect your home with style, ensuring lasting beauty and protection. Upgrade your roof today. Call Woods Roofing Inc. at 605-764-9517 for your free estimate. For a hole in your roof or for a whole new roof, give us a call. 605-764-9517.
Farmers and builders, listen up. Purple Wave Auction is shaking up equipment sales. We're the no reserve online auction powerhouse where every bid could be a win. From combines to cranes, tractors to excavators, if it has wheels or tracks, we've got it at purplewave.com. Purple Wave is your ticket to upgrade your operation. Join our nationwide buying community today and see why no reserve means maximum opportunity.
Referred Law 21 is on the ballot this November. But what's in it for South Dakotans? Voting yes on RL 21 will help create more than 4,000 good-paying jobs here in South Dakota, generating $3.2 billion in economic activity for our state. Referred Law 21 will deliver tens of millions in new income every year to our counties, especially rural counties, generating revenue for public schools, K-12 education, healthcare, EMS, and law enforcement. The new revenue RL 21 generates will help lower tax burdens, and Referred Law 21 contains a landowner bill of rights with strong new protections that give future generations a say in how our land is used. That's why RL 21 is supported by the South Dakota Chamber of Commerce and Industry, our farmers, landowners, and agriculture. Vote yes on Referred Law 21. Learn more at yesonrl21.com. Paid for by Vote Yes for a strong South Dakota.
Okay, some mornings you might not have that get up and go.
But at least you can get up and know.
The Greg Belfrage Show, with insightful opinions on the latest stories and frequent weather updates. It'll get you in the know while you're getting ready to go. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9. Entertaining talk and news when it happens.
I gotta get a little bit close. $639, partly cloudy and 57. Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Nice to have you along this morning. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, the big story this morning, and it's trending already, is Donald Trump at Madison Square Garden yesterday. This was just a huge, there are a number of stories regarding the rally that are trending. This is a piece from the Washington Examiner. Trump, of course, in New York. It's not a battleground state. The Examiner says this was a demonstration of confidence and an opportunity to not only make his closing argument, also to announce a new tax credit for caregivers. And he said, we are not just running against Kamala. She means nothing. She is purely a vessel. We are running against something far bigger than Joe or Kamala and more powerful than them, which is a massive, vicious, crooked, radical left machine that runs today's Democrat Party. Yeah. I think that's of the quotes that I have seen. I think maybe that's the one that is, to me, it's the most interesting and most insightful. So Trump packing Madison Square Garden, as I said earlier this hour, they could have filled it again. Trump saying, I'm thrilled to be back in the city that I love. And he just had quite a lineup. Hulk Hogan, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy was also there. And Trump said, I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The crowd roaring no. And Trump said, I am here today with a message of hope for all Americans. And that, to me, is what's that is really the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The message of hope of Donald Trump and the hope that he elicits then from, from crowds and from everybody who's joining him on the, and speaking, is that sense of hope. And you just see none of that coming from the Democrat Party. It's all just anger, bitterness. Trump said, with your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming into our country. I will bring back the American dream, Trump said. Also, Trump at a rally, I'm trying to organize these in a way that makes sense because a lot of it is Trump. It's Trump, Trump, Trump. Trump is the big story that's trending. So Trump did a rally at Pennsylvania State University on Saturday, trying to appeal to young voters. And he said, we had a very short time with her honeymoon period because nobody knew anything about her. He's talking about Kamala Harris. And he said, when they found out about her, she went down the tubes. He also talking about Harris with Beyonce in Houston. More on that in a moment because that story is also trending. And saying that Kamala Harris couldn't have filled the stadium without Beyonce there. That is Beyonce that filled the stadium, not Kamala Harris. So those were among the comments Trump made at Penn State. He said, we had no wars. We had peace through strength. It was a great thing. Peace through strength, and that's it. You don't have to send your kids out to war, getting blown up for a country that you've never heard of and that doesn't want anything to do with you anyway, Trump said, but I will not send you to fight and die in a foolish, never-ending foreign war. Trump also, with his interview with Joe Rogan, which was pretty incredible. He during the Joe Rogan interview, Trump was talking about the policy ideas that were Trump's that she then has copied and also then mentioned them as her own. No tax on tips, for an example. She brought that up that they were going to do that. And Trump joked about this, said, I'm going to send her a MAGA cap, Trump said. She was defund the police. She was all these, for all these transgender operations. If you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, They would give you a sex change. And Rogan said, well, one of the the wildest one is this idea of giving free sex changes to illegal immigrants. And Trump said, that's right, in detention. That is the wildest thing. Like, is that the Rogan? Now, this is Rogan talking. Is that the biggest problem you have? You just walked here from Guatemala and you need to become a girl? And Trump said Harris is in favor of this stuff. So they touched on just a host of things. It was a 3-hour interview that Trump did with Joe Rogan. And seriously, they just touched on a lot of things. So because of that lengthy Joe Rogan interview, Trump arrived late for his rally in Michigan. And this was on Friday, is when that he did the Rogan interview. It was later in the day on Friday. So then he was on his way to Michigan, and he winds up being about 3 hours late. And Trump said, explained the delay to the crowd. And he's talking about the interview. He's saying, we got so tied up, and I figured you wouldn't mind too much because we're trying to win. And he called Rogan a great guy who conducted the longest interview I've ever done in my life, Trump said. Said his campaign staff offered to cancel the rally in Michigan, but he told the crowd, he said, are you crazy? To which the crowd cheered. So they were still happy to be there, even though Trump was late. Also, J.D. Vance is defending Trump's enemy from within comments. Vance was on NBC's Meet the Press over the weekend, was asked whether he thought the political opponents that Trump has referred to in his comment are more dangerous than foreign adversaries such as Russia and China. And Vance said, well, I think what Donald Trump said is that those folks pose a greater threat to the United States peace and security because America is strong enough to stand up to any foreign adversary. And then he was pressed on whether he thought certain political opponents, pose a much larger threat. And Vance said, what he said, and I do agree with this, what he said is that the biggest threat we have in our country, it's not a foreign adversary because we can handle these guys. Look, under Nancy Pelosi's long life in public leadership, the United States has gone from the preeminent industrial power in the world to second next to China. That fundamentally belongs on Nancy Pelosi's shoulders. And then he talked about having a more prosperous country. So J.D. Vance being asked to defend Donald Trump's comments. Also, and this is incredible, Senator John Fetterman told the New York Times in an interview that was released over the weekend that he's calling Trump's support in Pennsylvania is just astonishing, he said. And he said he might not understand why Trump's support is so intense in his state, but he said you can see the intensity. It's astonishing. Fetterman said he encountered a large Trump merchandise shop while he was at an event in Indiana County, which he described as very, very red. He noted the dozens of T-shirts and bumper stickers featuring images of Trump, and he said, now this is Senator John Fetterman, he said, it's the kind of thing that's taken on its own life. And it's like something very special exists there. And that doesn't mean that I admire it. It's just, it's real. And he also said that Elon Musk joining forces with Trump moved the needle for a lot of Pennsylvania voters. Said I was truly alarmed about that when he started showing up, Musk. Endorsements, they're really not meaningful often, but this one is, I think. That one has me concerned. So John Fetterman talking about Trump and the way he is, the astonishing, that's his choice of word, astonishing support that he's seeing for Trump in Pennsylvania. Also, there was on Friday night in downtown Houston, Beyonce endorsed Kamala Harris at a rally there, and Beyonce said, "It's time for America to sing a new song. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big, loud Texas welcome to the next president of the United States." And then she said, "I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in, a world where we have the freedom to control our bodies," she said. Also, Michelle Obama speaking at a campaign rally in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. This is on the first day of early voting in Michigan. And she confessed she was frustrated and a little angry at some of the things she's hearing about why people are holding back on support for Kamala Harris. And she said the lie that we do not know who Kamala is or what she stands for is what she's hearing from a lot of people. I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated that some of us are choosing to ignore Donald Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn, she said. I hope that you will forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline. I can't even repeat the rest of this nonsense. I mean, it's just. Then you got Leonardo DiCaprio, who was out there endorsing Kamala Harris for president. So he's been an outspoken advocate of climate change, saying Kamala Harris is the one who could save the economy and the planet. And then the polls, new polls show extremely tight race in the final stretch of the campaign. Yeah. I mean, I have no time for that. It's also, this is bizarre. It's a video of a woman screaming in a child's face at a Kamala Harris rally in Houston on Friday. And when I say a child, I mean a child in a stroller, a young girl getting down, and you can't understand everything that she's saying, but I could understand the F-bomb. That drop, there was no mistaking that. And shouting at and the man, I'm assuming the child's father, immediately picks the child up, and then another woman is right in the face of this. And what was going on there? That video is trending, and it's like, wow. There are a lot of crazy people in this country right now. You know that, right? I mean, there are a lot of just disturbed, off balance folks engaged in that kind of stuff. It's crazy. Also, the administrator of NASA is calling for an investigation into so-called secret conversations between Elon Musk and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Those need to be investigated. This is the administrator of NASA, and he said NASA is a non-partisan political. Yeah, that's nuts. I know. Praise SpaceX for its recent work in developing spacecraft, and he's saying of the Wall Street Journal story, I don't know that that story is true. I think it should be investigated. If the story's true, there have been multiple conversations between Elon Musk and the president of Russia, and I think that would be concerning, particularly for NASA, the Department of Defense, for some of the intelligence agencies. Why would that be? Because Elon Musk is way out in front of those folks in terms of what they're able to do, what SpaceX is able to do, so on. I mean, you look at what Elon Musk is doing, and they are light years out in front of what NASA and, again, the government and what they're able to produce. It's just absolutely crazy. Remember the University of Nevada women's volleyball team that has been in the news here the last few weeks? They officially forfeited their game against San Jose State. Remember, the players announced themselves that they were forfeiting the game, and the university said, no, you can't do that. You can't. The game will go on. And then, no, the game did not go on. And the reason they've wanted to forfeit the game was because of a transgender player that was on the opposing team. The fifth team now that has refused to play because of a transgender on the opposing squad. How many will it take? How many teams will it take before you start to see changes? Do you wonder? I mean, it's a question that enters my mind. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Partly cloudy and 57. This hour brought to you by the window shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Well, thanks so much for starting your week with the Greg Belfrage Show, and I hope to see you again at 9:30. So I'll say so long until then. See you again soon.
I'd be honored to continue working for you as your Minnehaha County Commissioner. Minnehaha County is vital.